Hello, everybody. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I have a lot to talk about because even though you guys are not seeing me, there's a lot of things going on. I have so many pages of things that were downloaded and transcended and understood. Okay. With that being said, I'm going to take my time and get all of this out. Okay. So I'm going to pause the video. Matter of fact, I should go get some tea. I don't even know why I started this video without having something to sip on. I might just drink some water. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my time with this one. All right. So this may be one of those videos you play while, I don't know, while you pretend to do work at your desk, or when you go in the shower, you're getting ready for your morning ritual, or whatever the case may be. You know, whatever it is you're using to distract yourself from your present moment, because it may be really long. Might. You're going to see. Okay. But there's been a lot of different things that I've been understanding. When I was sitting with this particular message, I do have to sing the song. It's called Tribal War by Buju Banton. I think Nas and Damian Marley did a version of the song. It goes, Tribal War, we no want no more of that. Tribal War, you know that we are defend. So that's been in my brain. And I think in particularly why it's been in my brain is because what is being asked by Spirit is not to go against your brother, not to go against your sister. Okay. Now that looks like many different things. Okay. But what's most importantly is that you guys are resonating in matters of the heart. Okay. Despite any cultural differences, which, you know, we've created egoic illusions of disrespect, right? Because not everybody lives the way that we live. Not everybody moves the way that we move. Okay. So with that being said, we understand that we don't look to be disrespected. Okay. You just take everything with a grain of salt. Okay. Because Spirit doesn't want us to be at war with are the reflections of self based off cultural egoic differences. Okay. That's the first thing. All right. Now, while I'm actually a student right now, and one of the topics that I've learned a couple of weeks ago, which again, I know this is transmutation that has been a couple of weeks in the making. So again, I can't just come on here every time, you know, it has like a process of knowledge and integration of knowledge into wisdom. And so this way, when I speak, I'm speaking from a place of wisdom, not just a place of knowledge, right? Okay. So the concept of low context cultural and high context cultural. I'm going to say it again, just in case you want to Google it. Low context cultural and high context cultural. Okay. Low context cultural is what we talk about. We call it low vibration, right? Because it requires a lot of external things for you to gain understanding. Okay. These are people who operate with low context cultural vibrations or interactions require you to read and spell everything. I mean, cross your T's and dot your I's. Okay. It is very much, you have to read and spell. If you say do this, you have to make sure you say do this, and that, and that, that. And you'll see this a lot in the West. Okay. And I've been programmed into this kind of way of thinking as well. Okay. Because I was born on American soil. So I'm not separate from this. Okay. Again, no tribal war. All right. It's just that now that I have gained back my senses, I'm able to actually see and communicate with you guys what this is. Okay. It means that you have to read and spell everything. Okay. Now, when I was reading this, I was like, yeah, this seems like low vibrational. Yes, it's because they require a lot on external factors. They don't know how to read between the lines and what people are saying, right? You have to read and spell every single thing or else they're not going to understand it. All right. And now this is not supposed to be an egoic conversation. This is just a way of describing what certain entities that you're going to come across in this world are going to have to do, because one, they probably didn't cultivate their femininity enough to actually reach high context cultural, okay, which is in alignment, okay. It's like you're so inward that you are just perfect alignment with the higher frequency of life. Up here, there's no worries, right? You do what your mind says to do and you trust that you're in alignment. Okay, there's really no worries. You don't have to like read and spell anything. And if you do have a question, you know to ask that question, right? You don't come from a place of frustration, like, why didn't you tell me this, this, and this, and this? You know, you'd be like, why didn't your brain tell you this, this, and this? Right? Because you're not tapped in. You are not tapped into whatever frequency is in your environment. Okay, you haven't submerged yourself into that culture to be able to catch the high vibration of the unity of the place that you're in. Now, this happens a lot when you have actual bonds with people as well, right? This way you don't have to speak. You can contact a different side of your brain that uses, I guess, telecommunication, telepathy, or the case may be, when those bonds are strong, right? This is why all across any space and time, you can actually make those connections, right? Because we're not really separate. We're actually really one with everything around us. It's just that people operate at various different degrees, from low context to high context, right? Depending on what they're doing with their lives in any space and time, which be their diet, which will be their whatever substance they're intaking. That could be anything, because if you're partaking in some kind of ritualistic behavior, you guys all operate on a certain frequency at that given moment in time, okay? Until your body processes it out, okay? So it's all about bonding and connection, all right? Okay, now that we went over those two concepts, I also want to go and talk about your tongue and how people say that your tongue is a double-edged sword. Okay? This is very true. Okay? Now, during my walk, I have also realized that when the tongue is cutting both ways, okay? Now, when you speak the truth, right? The truth is going to be the truth no matter which way you slice it. Okay? Now, but the truth can hurt someone's feelings. It can, right? And in this way, sometimes you're not the one that's supposed to be delivering truths to someone. You're no one's God here. You may notice something and you may not even say something because the way that they're not ready to receive the information, and then you might be the brunt of that. And if we don't have that kind of rapport, I refuse to put myself in those situations. Okay? I'm no one's God here, right? But if you are able to be humble, that is the biggest thing about all of this stuff is humility. Okay? This is where when the truth is delivered to you, you don't get defensive and you don't attack. All right? This has actually happened like maybe yesterday or 2 days ago. I was talking to one of my elders, and she felt the truth coming, right? Because she's begging me for it. She's begging me to just let go my tongue on her, right? Oh, pause. But you know what I'm saying. Meaning to say the things that is not being said. Okay? So high context, which means I don't have to say a damn thing, but you can hear me if you listen. If you have the ears to hear and the eyes to see, you're going to hear me. Right? Now, if I have to make it physical for you, most likely you're not ready to hear it. That I'm not talking boastfully. I'm saying in general. All right? You don't know how to submit your ego, which requires humility. That is the death. Ego death is the way to go. Because if nobody can tell you nothing, you're going to end up in an early grave in real life. Okay? And nobody wants to cantankerous. I keep saying this word, but nobody wants to trouble themselves for you to gain some knowledge. Because we know that if we just put our hands off, you're going to learn either way. Who don't hear does feel. Okay? I hear you too, because I have particular spirit guides who I met in physical vessels who tell me straight up, no, this one. And if I go and I do the thing that they said not to do, I feel it. I feel it. Okay. They're never wrong. They're never wrong. Okay. And I say this humbly. All right. They're able to guide me because I know how to humble my ego. Okay. Um, balance is key always. Right. Yeah, because protecting your peace is like, I know people say this, but I don't think you understand how important it is. Don't allow other people to sink you because they don't have the particular awareness of their own self. Okay. Now, having a humble heart, people can watch you and they can tell you about yourself, and you can be able to discern which ones is true, which one's not true. Most likely, the things that actually give you some kind of, there's a vibration of truth, right? And those of us who seek truth in all things, we're able to get it and understand where we need to autocorrect. Okay. Because we also live so much inwardly that we understand ourselves thoroughly. So when people are telling you about something, right? And usually it's coming because you ask. Okay. I don't make it a practice to tell people about themselves if they do not ask, right? Because, like I said, you're going to end up putting yourself in a way of fire. Okay. Um, always go with your first intuition, right? You can see when people are taking the dip, if you're maintaining a certain vibration for yourself. And not only that, when you know that you're taking what I call low vibrational foods, meaning they don't really give you in some good life force energy, you end up kind of dipping down onto certain different frequencies. You don't stay high all the time. Okay. But having awareness of what you're doing and what's about to come because you're doing it, it definitely helps navigating these streets. Okay. I did write this thing down here. What does it say? God will not punish you for speaking the truth. All right. Now, God will never punish you for speaking the truth, but when you insert yourself into somebody else's storyline without the God's timing, there's divine timing for everybody. Okay. The divine timing for everybody, and everything is contractual. Everything, every bond that you make, even if it's not written on a paper, when you speak to people, when it's a contract, you're giving consent, right? And you must really listen to when the deceiver, I don't want to call it deceiver, but there's a particular spirits who must ask you for permission in order to continue even conversing with you. You have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. Those that are aligned, they know what their purpose is in your life when they meet you. Okay. They wouldn't say it though, right? They have to really see and learn your character. Okay. Yeah. Some people you just got to let them go. Take a sip. Mm-hmm. We're working on the plastic stuff. Anyway, another thing I want to draw your attention to, if you're downloading my level of consciousness and you are in resonance with this, is that you're never really particularly upset at a particular person. People just house spirits. Okay. Now, you ever meet someone and they're reminding you of someone else, and this doesn't know a gender. It does not know a gender. We contract with particular spirits in the inner world, underworld, whatever the case may be, right? And it's all the things that you've actually made into physical form. Okay. Anything that you decided to any ritual you decide to partake in, whether it be eating food, watching a certain thing, what you're doing is you are intaking and contracting with a certain spirit that created whatever the thing that you're watching. Okay. The mastermind behind the production. All right. Now, with that being said, those spirits can hijack any vessel, depending if that vessel has given access to it. Okay. This could be through sexual acts, actually any ritual, sex, food, conversing, anything that establishes a connection. This is why you're going to see certain spirits they follow you. They follow you, especially if you already rejected them, especially if you've already like, nah, I'm good on this, right? You got to be mindful of the company you keep, because another person may contract with that spirit, and then just so they can have access to you, they'll literally appear in that person. Okay. Now, if you don't understand what I'm saying, you need to be at high context cultural for you to understand what I am saying. You already have to go through different rites of passages for you to gain the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Okay, that's the only way this video is going to make sense to you. And instead, again, low context cultural people, instead of getting upset, right, or frustrated with navigating in the unknown, what I do recommend is getting in touch with your feminine side. Okay, and I'm not talking about going sipping tea and all of that. It requires a lot of subconscious work, inner work, looking at yourself in the mirror, truly understanding yourself, understanding your emotions, and making them align with all of your minds, whether it be your gut, your brain, and your heart. Okay, and seeking truth in all things. And when you can see different reflections of yourself through other people, realize the things that you want to change about yourself because you did not like the experience of feeling the thing that was there. Okay. Like I said, this stuff is not just something you just do overnight. Okay, you don't just gain this sight overnight. It has to do with a lot of inward work for you to start operating on a high context cultural. Okay, now these spirits, whatever, like these things are coming toward you to show contrast. Okay, sometimes God puts contrast in your life to show you what you can be if you don't change. I definitely got that from somewhere online, but it's still a true thing. Okay. Um, yeah, drama. I relinquished it. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about here is the idea of when you care too much what people think. Okay. That is going to sink your spiritual journey. This is a very I and I thing. Okay. It's either you're a reflection or you're not a reflection. Right. And if you are serving as contrast, what type of contrast, and can we work with it? If we can't work with it, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. The connection will be lost. Okay. All right. It's two different resonances. It's skata. Okay. But yeah, people who care about too much what people think, you can't trust them. I can't trust you. Right. You have to be able to be solid and firm in who you are and present. If you're not present, wayward. Okay. Too much of the world. Okay. Um, Another plug is to follow your intuition in all things that you do. All right. That first mind that you heard, follow it. Don't try to redirect it any other way. Okay. Everyone's journey is their own journey. And I say this humbly. Okay. I'm not saying I don't do this anymore, but something just happened to even reconfirm, like, girl, we done told you a couple days ago. So just chill on it. All right. Um, yeah, that's it. All right. So let me take a pause. Okay, so everyone's got a piece of the story, but you need to be mindful. Okay, now some of you guys or some of us were kind of initiated into underworld work through different people who come online and they say certain things and they do certain things. This is a myriad of people. Okay, you need to make sure that whoever is ushering you or guiding you through the underworld, make sure that their hearts are clean and they're able to get to God frequency. Okay. And not even them, make sure you can. Okay, because people are going to have information that's going to help you. They're going to help you gain understanding, whatever word you want to use to show that you comprehend what I am saying. Okay, but do not get lost in outsourcing that power. Don't get lost in overconsumption of somebody else's consciousness, because you don't know what's their path. You don't know what's in their reservoir of connection, or whose spirits they're contracting with and what they have to do to maintain those spirits with them. Okay? Some people in their bloodline are just rich in spirit. Okay, I'm not saying that they're perfect or don't have faults or anything like that, but they don't have to require to give certain sacrifices to certain spirits because it was already in their blood. Okay, that coupled with their life's choices ushers in a new context cultural spirits to them. That's work. Okay, it's really easy to operate with low vibrational spirits. Not saying that they're bad or anything like that, because sometimes they offer protection given what areas you want to visit or what rituals you decide you want to partake in, because you're being, to me, I call it possession. Okay, lower level energies that possess human vessels give way to entities of lust, addiction, overconsumption, greed, jealousy. These are the vibrations, okay, in which they literally have possession of your body because they're controlling you through an experience or maybe a ritual that you partake in or you continuously partake in. Okay. Now, I personally do not think that you can reach God level frequency if you are still under the thumb of these frequencies. If you're unable to break away and actually hold the will of God, okay, that part right there, right, in your vessel, then I don't know how you can lead anybody doing anything because you've already succumbed to this thing. Okay, that's like calling God's name in vain. How many times you're saying that you want to stop doing this, don't want to do that, da 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 da, right? And then you do like this whole cycle of nonsense just to come back to serving the same entity that was causing you havoc in the same place. That to me is weak. I'm not gonna lie to you. The will of God is, I don't make God a liar. That's all I'm gonna say, right? I'm not saying that we don't forsake our humanity, right? But there's levels to this. There's just levels, okay? Um, and if you do, you have to have the codes in order to get yourself back out, okay? If you slip up or you decided to change the will, which is okay too. But to me, I'd just be watching and be like, damn, you know? But I also understand that it's also for a reflection of me, like, make sure if you're about this work, be about the work. Okay, because when you establish yourself a certain level, you're really higher than a lot of these lower level things. That's just not required. Okay, yeah, it's just not required. We're bigger than any of this low level stuff. Okay, another big thing is don't seek drama, seek the lesson. Don't seek drama, seek the lesson. Now, I have to humbly say this thing because, like I said, sometimes you're just a viewer watching other people demonstrate things that you have done or about to do. Okay, so if you keep that in your mentality, the people in your circle as they're operating and they're, going through the play called life, you get to see which characters you can learn from this character, learn from that character, pay attention. Okay, I have been, what is the word I want to say? Guilty. I have been guilty of casting judgment on someone with my tongue and then having that same judgment come back around and stab me in the heart. Okay. Now, with that being said, that's why humility is important. And I'm going to just make a general announcement to anyone that I've passed judgment on. I am sorry. Okay. I am sorry. I have humbly learned different lessons, especially talking about things I have no place talking about. I have not experienced certain things, so I don't even know why I felt like, yeah, off the strength of people I've known before and what they have done, that's not enough. Okay. So humbly, I say I apologize for any criticism that I have spewed out of not understanding your full life story. Because even on my end, I realized some people, they've known me for maybe a year, maybe a couple months, and then they have their own perception of who I am. Meanwhile, I have this quite a bit of repertoire of things I've experienced, phases I've been through, right? And so they only judge me from the point of view that they've known me, which is, it's ludicrous to me, but I just, I have done it. So this is why I can't really be too offended. Okay. Because everything that goes around, comes around. Okay. So I'm offering you that love, and I hope that you also offer me that grace. I do apologize for that. I had no business with the criticism. All right. But I've come from a frequency of addiction to drama. Okay. I will be the first one to say. And so when I start relinquishing this frequency, right, it does try to rear its head like, because as a young child, I do remember if I have something saucy to say, that's when you get attention. All right. So with that being said, we're relinquishing that. We're trying to get to the lesson of things in order to not be trapped by these entities of confusion. All right. Yes. So I wrote this down. May many enjoy truth through humor. Okay. Now, like that story I was saying in the beginning of this video, someone was like trying to bait me, like, tell me about myself. And when I started telling them about themselves, they're like, okay. And they're trying to cut me off at every turn. It's super annoying because they're not ready to hear it, but they know that they need something. Okay, because you can feel the anxiousness, you can feel the desperation, you can feel the endless cycle of levels of hell. Is that what yeah, I want to say that. But then when you start talking, you can't even get a sentence out because they don't want to hear it. They're like, okay, and they try to talk over you. It's crazy. You know what I mean? And then I'd be like, peace, be still. Right? And I literally, I don't have any tolerance for it, right? Because if you ask me a question and you don't allow me the space to tell you the thing, then you're not really trying to have an ego death. All right? You're really not trying to have that kind of death. You want to cling to the trauma. You want to cling to the nonsense longer. All right, but many enjoyed the truth through humor. I know. I used to have a friend, I think I said this in another video. Anytime she was delivering me elements of truth, she made me laugh. And that was so nice. It was a nice way to deliver truth, even though I can handle both ways, to be quite honest. Because I have done so much work. It's very humbling, and then so many dark nights of the soul where you can literally feel physical pain as if there's an angel in your room just stabbing you. Yeah, remember that time when you said this thing and judgment. But it's cool. I respect it because it's required for evolution. It's required for evolution. Hear what I'm saying. Okay? Don't throw stones and hide your hands. Only break silence when necessary. All right. That is a fair download. And mind you, when I get these downloads, it's because my higher self is seeing things before I can actually live it through. Or, yeah, and it's for me personally. This is just a formality. I say call it a formality. It's more very personal stuff. These are downloads for me that I'm sharing with you for whatever space and time you reach you, for you to also have the codes in order to evolve in consciousness. Okay. So, with that being said, anytime that your intuition is off, or you know that you're in a certain vibration and then you try to interact with other people with that vibration, be mindful of that. Try to be mindful of that before you engage. Okay? This is the thought of throwing stones and then hiding your hands. Because what starts happening is, in particular, I'm thinking about this one scenario in my head right now. But I would say that it wasn't really trying to throw stones. It was trying to gain some clarity in order to interact. All right, just so we can have a precedent, because I don't like too much things in my storage space. Anytime, if we're acquaintances, if we are sharing resonance in some kind of way, I try my best not to. I said this earlier, like I said, bad mind. I don't want to have too much iffy things, or like like I said, we are reflections of one another, and when there's a reflection that's doing too much. Right? It's becoming like, why is this in my world? I don't want this in my world. Right? It's too heavy. I have to let it go. Okay. And that's just for clarity's sake, right? So it's not about the hiding hands part. It's just also, you may not understand anything that I am saying. And I am very comfortable with moving in the unknown, because my brain starts doing the thing. And when I ask a question to my own inner self, I get the answers quite clearly. Okay. It's just only when I move out of timing, okay, or I second guess my intuition, that it becomes really, truly a problem. Okay. Speak only when it improves silence. That is probably the best thing. One of my old teachers have helped me understand. I should say that spirit in that particular vessel, because I definitely think that spirit left that vessel. And like I said, certain spirits just follow me as I'm going, and they just hijack people around me. Okay. It's on that level right now. They're like, all right, next one. All right. So you can't really get too attached to any person physically. Okay. There's certain spirits that literally hijack vessels and given space and time to either remind me of something, warn me about something. Okay. I don't really have any harbor any bad feelings. So all these people are just reflections of myself. It's just that I'm trying to move in with a better resonance, move at a better frequency. Okay. Yeah. If nothing that I'm saying right now is hitting for you, please just go. I haven't really done a video in a while. And what I'm realizing is that these videos are for anybody that's resonating on my level. Okay. And this is not a brag. It's not even something, I don't know what level you on. You may not understand a damn thing that I am saying to you right now. It's okay. Don't watch or listen. Go somewhere else. Okay. There's a particular thing that I'm talking about. Like I said, high context cultural, that it just seems like I'm just blabbing and da 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 da. But I know that it's going to reach who it needs to reach when it needs to reach it. Back to what I was saying is, speak only when it improves silence. Speak only when it improves silence. That is the thing. Okay. Saying the wrong thing in the wrong time. It's like, there's a lot. There's a lot. Okay. So you just kind of learn and seek the truth in all things. Okay. To sum this all up, high context cultural is what is understood does not need to be stated. Okay. This is the idea. What is understood does not need to be stated. Over talking brings you back down to low context cultural. All right. All right. Over explaining. Sometimes you're not going to get it. Okay. I tend to speak for people who are on a certain level of understanding and who know how to maneuver in the unknown with ease. Being in the unknown does not bring discomfort. Okay. It's actually more comforting, right? Because in what's not being said, there is a comfort. There's a solace. There's a peace. Okay. And that's not for everybody. Like I said, if you weren't born in that kind of culture, if you don't understand, the unseen, you will feel uncomfortable. You will feel uncomfortable. Okay. Especially if you have already given certain dominion to certain other spirits, or I don't call them demons, but if you're under possession, it's going to be hard. Okay. God has to live in your heart space. God has to live in your heart space. Okay. It prevents overthinking. It prevents your sacral energy from being hijacked. You must be in your heart. Okay. Anything else?